It is the lockdown lift up, and today's topic is how do you do more in less time? And this topic comes on the day that my new book, this is a abbreviated version of it in your screen. It has a subtitle now, but it's called Take Back Your Weekends, Do More, or no, Stress Less, Do More, Be Happier. And so it only made sense that we should do something around taking back your weekends. And so this is available, and I know people are ordering it, which is awesome. So thank you very much. And you get your hands on your own copy. Really excited. I didn't do a big launch around this. I'm not doing that big, get to Amazon #1 bestseller. I didn't even look for that. Because I'm looking for the long game here. I want people to figure out, it's not necessarily about how do you take control of your or never work a weekend again. It's about how do you not feel stressed? How do you make the choice to, take the time off and also not feel guilty when you do? But more than that, how do you go through the work week, whatever your work week looks like, and not feel stressed, right? Just be like, okay, I got this. That's the concept of take back your weekends. And I heard a few, oh, look at all this. Dan, good to see you. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a very long time. And oh, Greg, you got your book on Amazon. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And the book is released. Thank you so much, Lori. Yeah, I'm really excited. It's, nothing like finishing or rewriting a book, when your mom's in the hospital and you're moving out of the city and packing up your life. It was awesome. But getting more done in less time is the way I work. So let's go over some concepts around that. And first want to start with the concept of how do you actually take back your weekends? So let's say you truly want to not work weekends anymore, or at least have the choice, or not work late nights or early mornings. And this concept, the first time I ever said take back your weekends was with an executive team. And we've been working together for a day talking about how do we create a resilient culture. And one of the executives started to cry. And he said, Allison, I'm so scared I'm going to miss my kids' childhood. I work every weekend and it's still not enough. And I said, well, you know what? You're going to have to take back your weekends. And that was the first time I ever said it. And then we talked about the strategy and we figured out, too many interruptions were happening during the week. There wasn't any block time for him to actually get his work done during the week. There were a whole bunch of pieces of the puzzle that he could put a strategy in place in order to not have to work every Saturday and Sunday. And that was his choice, right? So that's where it all began. But really, if you want to free your weekends in the traditional sense, what are your options? You've got 3. So number 1, you could work longer hours during the week. Because we're probably talking 5 to 10 hours of working on the weekend. So let's say we're playing with that. But if you put in an hour or 2 extra a day, great. Then you can take the weekend off. And I'm going to guess nobody's interested in doing that. Because our brains can only work for so long in a day. And I know there's a lot of chat about could we do longer 4-hour day or 4-day work weeks. So work, 10, 12 hours in a day and then have a 3-day weekend. And that works for some, but for the most part, it's the law of diminishing returns. At some point in the day, you can't keep producing at a high enough quality to make it make sense. So longer work days, to me, doesn't seem like an answer to take back your weekends. So we're going to X-nay number 1. The second way you can take back your weekends is to do less work. And so this is probably every one of us could look at everything we're doing and be like, okay, maybe I don't need to be doing that. Or maybe I'm wasting time there, or that's not a priority, or I wish I would have said no to that. There's a whole rabbit hole we can go into. And changing what's on our list, either delete, delegate, or do, right? What's on there. And in the book, I talk about that being a possibility, but that's not the focus of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the third option, which is finding the efficiencies. And efficiencies is the wrong word. And by the way, I'm so exhausted today. I'm just tired. So I may or may not have all of the answers of all of my words available for you today. But you've been with me enough that you know that's all right. So here's the thing. There are, and you already know this, there are times when you are in absolute flow. And when you get started and you get this in, and you're totally focused and you have a goal and you have accountability in this chunk of time, you're going to get what needs to get done. And then you probably also know that on the times when you're kind of half-assing it, you just kind of yeah, I got to get that done, but oh, I'll do this thing instead for now. Or I am, trying to multitask instead, which is technically multi-switching, switching really fast between multiple tasks, because we can't actually multitask. Our brains don't function that way. You know those times when you or you're constantly reacting to everything that's going on outside of you. And then next thing you know, the day is gone and you're like, oh shoot, did I get anything done that was important? Just completely reacting to everything else. And so it's all about streamlining that work process to account for the fact that we're going to have fires, we're going to have interruptions, but we need to be able to work within that reality and still get our focused work time in. And so for me, that is really the piece of the puzzle. But it has to be short bursts and not so short. Like a lot of people talk about the Pomodoro method. And the concept there is you work for 25 minutes and set a timer and then you're off. And 25 minutes and set a timer and you're off. And here's the thing. To me, it's 25 minutes in. If I'm actually into a 25-minute work block and my timer goes off, I'm like, oh, why did you interrupt me? I was just in flow. And so I prefer a 45 to a 75-minute work block. And in order to achieve that focus, I believe there need to be three things. You need to have a goal for that time. There needs to be a deadline. Something fell out there, but I think everybody's okay. It needs to be a deadline of I've got to get this done by this time. And there needs to be accountability. So some way of saying, I need to do this now, right? And somebody else is expecting. And so if we can do that, but then the other piece of it is we have to know the break is coming. Because I think some philosophies say, I've got to, just start 5 minutes, get into it. And then I'll, 10 minutes in, I'll just keep going. But our brains are not designed to be in that tensed state for prolonged periods of time. And so we'll actually get more done if we have that break and are totally tunnel vision. And then at the end of the 45 minutes or the 75 minutes, that's when we can say, look up and go, okay, what are the fires I need to deal with? What are the issues going on around me? And then adjust and then go into another work block. And what I found is when we do that, and my clients do that, it's so much more effective in terms of the overall work output per hour than if you did 8 hours without having any strategy around your focus and your recovery. And so this high intensity followed by low intensity, catching up, looking around about what's going on around, no judgment, no anything, just okay, where am I going to go now? And then coming back into high intensity is we do that sort of, I don't know, what's that, seesaw? But it's not, that's a seesaw. We're going, or teeter-totter, but we're not totally, it's a really bad analogy. Allison, who loves my metaphors and analogies, that's not the one I'm going to stick with. But that back and forth, because we can't chase a goal, chase a deadline, or have accountability in a prolonged state. Our brain needs to pull back and relax and refresh. And how you refresh, we've talked about that in other videos, could be different depending on your mood for a day, right? Sometimes it's the music, sometimes it's you need a really quick power nap, sometimes it's you got to step outside and embrace the nature in front of you. Sometimes it's just sitting in a sense of wonderment. On my patio furniture right in front of me that you can't see today, there was a squirrel who was like sprawled eagle, just like all fours out with the tail. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to him? Like, I didn't even know. But he was just like so comfortable on my furniture. It was awesome to see. So, I just stared in wonderment. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a wonderful, beautiful break. And then come back to, okay, what am I working on right now? There's another really cool concept in the book around how to manage your task list. So I'm not going to talk about that today. Maybe we can do it another day. But I'll tell you, it's revolutionary if you do it, because so often we try to bucket activities together, or we have that great big long to-do list that we're checking off, and maybe we have a routine for how we're going to approach that. I should throw that all on its side. So I think these are the key points. Is we need to look at how you're doing your work and get really curious, not judgmental, curious about, am I approaching it the right way? How much quality focused time am I actually getting to do my work? Because so often our days, like I said earlier, are just kind of happening, right? Like just, I don't know what happened today. I don't know what I got done. And then the important non-urgent stuff that is actually going to drive your success never gets to the top of the pile because it's not on fire. I remember it was somebody who sent me a note. He said, I think the way we're living our lives right now is head down, put out all the fires that come up, and be sure our kids are still alive at the end of the day. Right? Like, it's just because of the pandemic situation. And I thought, oh man, I don't think that's the way we want to live our lives. And it's not going to achieve the level of success that we truly want to see if we're not focusing on the priority tasks. And so often, a lot of those things that are taking up our time, if we were really objective about how we approach our day, we can look at that and say, you know what? I don't actually need to be doing that. I could delegate it. I could delete it. I could forget about it. Options. I love what you said about being mindful about the 45-minute block with goals, specific deadline output, and accountability. Certainly, my fires can breathe for 45 minutes. Well, see, and yes, this is the thing, is most of us are not in a triage situation where we're like, we're not saving heart attacks, right? There are important things that need to happen. But then what I see ends up happening is people are like, okay, I'm going to work on my priorities and I'm going to do it all day long. I'm going to work on this big project. And then there are fires going on all around and they haven't built in the contingency for that. See, I like to work with our human nature. I like to look and say, you know what? Probably there are going to be a couple things that are going to come up today that are pretty urgent, or urgent and important, or urgent, not important, but I still want to deal with them. Like being realistic. If we think about that quadrant of, I forget whose theory that is, but that quadrant, where it's important, high important, low importance, and then urgent, not urgent, right? You know how quadrants work. They're around there somewhere. Anyway, point is that we've got to make allowances that how we plan our day is not necessarily how our day is going to go. And especially if you have some physical challenges like I do, I have to put in those contingencies and be okay with it and be like, okay, here are the priorities. That's why I always start with my biggest priorities in the morning. When I'm fresh and I'm able-bodied and I'm just like going for it, that is when I do my absolute important work. And I do it by having a goal, having a deadline, and being accountable, whether it's to a friend or a business coach or myself or a client, whatever it is, that's when I do that work. And then I have the contingency of the afternoon that isn't overloaded with priorities where I can deal with all those things. It also means that I've trained people in my life or encouraged them. Like most people know that I can't meet in the morning, right? Like I'm not going to do the thing that isn't critical and require high intensity of brain in the morning. Like I'm just not, or the thing, because I'm going to do the stuff that requires the high intensity of my brain in the morning. That's my focus area. And then in the afternoon, I'm all for the networking and the, social media and the this and the that. Not that I don't do social media in the morning. Sometimes I do, of course, but it's just, that's how I like to get into the groove. So, getting really curious about how you're approaching your tasks. And sometimes, if have we done the ice cube that became the snowman? Most of you have been here the whole time. You would know that's important. That's an important concept. So if we haven't done it, we'll revisit it. But really just getting the crux of what are the tasks that need to get done and doing them as efficiently and as effectively as humanly possible, which may not be the way that you've always done them. Okay, so, and being okay with that. That's pretty cool, because then we can look at it objectively and be like, okay, how can I change that? What can I do to make it even more streamlined? Because every time a task takes longer than it should out of our lives, and maybe it's because we're procrastinating on it, maybe it's because we are glorifying it or catastrophizing it and being like, oh my God, it's going to take me so long, or overcomplicating it because we're micromanaging it or looking for perfectionism, like whatever the case may be. Anytime we do that, what we're doing is we're stealing our capacity to solve obstacles and, most importantly, heal and process from adversities. We need that space. Those obstacles are going to come at us every day, and we got to work through them. And we, just got to keep going and have the ability to do that. So there are my thoughts today on how do you get more done in less time. So carve out those windows, protect them, have a contingency for the fires that come up. So you're not thinking, oh my gosh, it's because I've coached people when this has happened. Well, I planned on doing my focus day on this project, but things came up. Yeah, of course things come up. That's how every day of yours is. That's how it works, people. That's it. So we got to say, okay, I'm not going to do the whole day. I'm going to spend a half a day working on this in 3 sets of chunks. And in between, I'm going to pull my head up from what I'm working on and go, okay, guys, what's going on? Who needs me for what? How do we do this? There are more things that we can uncover in the coming days and weeks in this area as I continue to talk about my new book, Take Back Your Weekends, Stress Less, Do More, Be Happier. Isn't that what we all want, is to be happier? I feel grateful that I'm so incredibly happy. And why am I happy and content in my life, even though I'm pretty sick of the lockdown, even though I'm pretty frustrated with certain things? It's because I do all the stuff that I talk about in the book. I put it into perspective and just am continually looking for the silver linings in everything that shows up. And when something really, really sucks, like a true adversity happens or there's a tragedy, I just recognize that we can't outmaneuver that. We can't cheat the human process of what it takes to process all of those true emotions. Yeah, Dan says, don't worry, be happy. You know what? That should be my new tagline. A little 90s. Is it 80s or 90s? And don't worry, be happy. I can't sing. If that was not obvious with my Be Happy rendition, I'm letting you know. I know one of my faults in my life is I don't have a good singing voice. But you know what? If we know our shortcomings, that's awesome. So there we go. There are my thoughts. A few of them. How to get more done in less time. Don't forget goal, deadline, accountability, the sweet spot of performance and productivity, but it cannot be maintained for a prolonged state. If it is, that's when we get into destructive stress territory. And that's when our productivity slips, our objectivity slips, and we can get caught up so much in the stress vortex that we actually don't feel the level of contentment that I'm hoping for you in your life. That's what I want. All of us just to be okay, even if the shit is flying around us. The proverbial fan is powered on high. It's okay. You've got this. Because you can do the things that are within your control, and the things within your control are the tasks that you need to get. Oh, Anita, thank you. But you are a great coach and writer. Yes, I am. Thank you. What? That was an awkward thing to say. Yes, I am. Fast. Okay, we're going to be doing a talk on confidence in the upcoming. That was so tacky. I'm so sorry. What I meant to say was thank you. Incredibly grateful for your kind words. And what I was thinking in the back of my mind is the but. What did I say? Oh, because I'm not a good singer. That was what that was in relation to. So funny. See, I know my gifts and I know the things I'm not good at, and singing is one of them. There are several things that I'm not great at. Obviously, like there are lots of people, but anyway, that was really funny. Yes, I am, she says. Oh my goodness. I already had a nap today, so um, yeah, so much transparency when you're tired. Well, honestly, Dan, let's be honest. I'm pretty transparent when I'm not tired, but when I'm tired, I definitely, lose any filter that I may or may not have. And the truth is, I just physically have got some stuff going on, and I am having. I just got to deal with it, right? This has been going on for a long time, so I do the best I can, and I'm okay with that because this is it. Got to be happy, and as you say, don't worry, be happy. I'll say it in a sarcastic voice so I don't sing it again to you. Anyway, now I'm just getting giddy. See, and you know what? Sometimes when we're tired, if we have the motivation of having something to do where we can tap into our own personal gift and the thing that makes us feel in flow, for me, which is coming up with content and sharing ideas and just riffing on these sorts of topics, then we can feel energized, right? So that's what I'm feeding off of, is finding those spurts where I feel like, okay, this is exactly what I need to get done, and then getting lost in it, and then going and taking a break and doing whatever I need to do to recharge, and then coming back. So anyway, it's awesome. I hope you will consider getting the book. If that resonates in any way with you, please do. They're just, technology, it's all coming together where the books are, you might, if you want paperback versus having ebook right now, you're going to have to go to different spots on Amazon, but they should be coming together in the next day or so. So you can choose where you go. And then, of course, I hope if you get a hard copy, you will take a picture of it and put it up on social media with you reading it, and let me know what resonated the most with you. So, all right, folks. See, I was going to go have another nap, but I'm not going to, because now I'm fired up. I'm going to go work on, I wrote a whole bunch of emails for people who purchased the book, or for people who purchase the book, and then sign up to get 21 tips. 21 of the best tips for time management. So see, because this book is more about how to think. It's a methodology. It also has my task circle concept in it. For those of you who have had the online program, Take Back Your Weekends, it is, all of it is in here. It's also in the online program, but then the tips are very tactical. And so I don't want to just release the tips to people who haven't read the book, because the tips don't matter if you don't have the foundational thinking, right? Like we all know what we need to do. It's actually having the bandwidth and the capacity to do it that makes the biggest difference. So thank you. And Anita, thank you very much for the thumbs up. Awesome to have you here with us today, and Dan and Greg and Lori and everyone else who's here. I'm so grateful for you. I just love that I get to do this, and now you've got me all fired up, ready to go, ready to do. I'm going to go to my task circle and find something great to do. Okay, have the best day. Bye.